I woke to David making coffee, the same ritual we'd shared for 23 years. Steam rose from his mug as he leaned against the kitchen counter, watching me through the doorway. Nothing had changed in our small suburban kitchen. Same blue tiles, same morning light, yet everything felt different. I sat at the table where I'd eaten breakfast thousands of times. The hotel key card lay beside my phone, plastic edges catching the light. I'd kept it without thinking, slipped it into my purse as we left that room. "Sleep well?" David asked, bringing me coffee in my favorite mug. "Yes." The lie came easily. I'd lain awake replaying every moment. The stranger's hands, David's eyes watching from that chair, the way my body had responded without permission from my mind. David sat across from me. No newspaper, no phone, just his attention, complete and focused in a way it hadn't been for years. "Any regrets?" he asked quietly. I held the warm mug between my palms, studying his face. Lines around his eyes, silver threading his dark hair. My husband of 2 decades, who had orchestrated last night like a conductor, leading a symphony I'd never heard before. "No." The word surprised me with its firmness. "You?" "None." He reached across the table, fingers brushing the key card. "You were magnificent." Heat flooded my cheeks. At 53, I blushed like a teenager. "David, I mean it." His voice carried something new, an edge I'd never heard. "I've watched you be polite for so long, careful. Last night, you were just... you." The key card felt warm under my fingertip, a small rectangle of plastic that had opened more than just a hotel room door. The week passed in careful normalcy. David went to his office. I taught my classes at the community college. We cooked dinner together, watched the news, discussed our daughter's upcoming visit. But underneath the routine, something hummed like electricity before a storm. Thursday evening, David poured wine while I graded papers. He set my glass beside my laptop, his hand lingering on my shoulder. "There's a conference in Portland next month," he said. 3 days. I looked up from a student's essay about Gatsby. "Your quarterly meeting?" "No." His fingers traced my collarbone through my sweater. "A different kind of gathering." The wine suddenly tasted too sharp. "David." "Just thinking out loud." He settled into his chair, opening his tablet. "About possibilities." I tried to focus on the essay, but the words blurred. The student wrote about Gatsby's green light, about yearning for something just out of reach. I marked it with an A and moved to the next paper. "Monica." David's voice was soft but insistent. "Look at me." I met his eyes across our familiar living room. 23 years of shared space. His books on the shelves, my plants by the window, photos of our daughter's graduations and birthdays. Safe, predictable. "What do you want?" he asked. The question hung between us like a bridge I wasn't sure I wanted to cross. What did I want? The woman who'd trembled under a stranger's touch, or the one who'd spent decades being exactly who everyone expected? "I don't know yet," I whispered. He nodded, as if that answer satisfied him completely. Saturday morning, David handed me an envelope over breakfast. Inside, a hotel receipt dated 3 weeks ago, the same hotel where everything changed. "You planned this for weeks," I said, studying the printed numbers. "Longer?" He buttered his toast with deliberate care. "I've been thinking about it for months, about us, about what we'd become." I traced the receipt's edge. What had we become? Roommates, polite strangers sharing a mortgage. He looked at me directly. "I wanted my wife back, the real one." The receipt felt like evidence of something I couldn't name. And if I'd said no that night, then I'd have known where we stood. David reached for my hand. But you didn't say no. The memory flooded back, standing in that hotel room, the black dress David had chosen clinging to my skin, waiting for whatever came next. I'd felt more alive in those moments than I had in years. The man, I said quietly. How did you... A friend of a friend, discreet, clean. David's thumb moved across my knuckles. He understood the arrangement. Arrangement, the word made it sound clinical, businesslike, but nothing about that night had felt calculated. The stranger's touch had been electric, David's attention intoxicating. What if I want more? The question escaped before I could stop it. David's eyes darkened with something between hunger and pride. Then we'll find more. I folded the receipt carefully, placed it beside the hotel key card I still carried. 2 pieces of paper and plastic that mapped the territory of our new marriage. There's a wine bar downtown, David said, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. Just us? His smile was answer enough. Sunday evening, I stood before our bedroom mirror, applying the perfume David had chosen weeks ago. The scent was darker than my usual fragrance, jasmine and amber instead of the light florals I'd worn for years. In the reflection, I saw David watching from the doorway. He'd been doing that more often lately, studying me like I was a puzzle he was still solving. Second thoughts, he asked. I capped the perfume bottle, set it on the dresser. About tonight or about us? Both. I turned to face him. I keep thinking about our daughter, about what she'd say if she knew. She's 26, Monica. She has her own life, her own secrets. This feels like crossing a line we can't uncross. David stepped into the room, his reflection joining mine in the mirror. We already crossed it. That night at the hotel, that was the line. Everything else is just geography. I thought about the woman I'd been a month ago. Predictable Monica, who taught literature classes and made casseroles for church potlucks, who hadn't felt truly desired in years, who'd accepted that passion was for younger people, different people. I liked who I was before, I said, but the words felt hollow. Did you? Really? David's hand settled on my shoulders. Or did you like how safe it was? The perfume scent rose between us, exotic and unfamiliar. I'd become someone else the moment I'd put on that black dress, and I wasn't sure I knew how to go back. What if we can't find our way home, I whispered. What if home was never where we thought it was? David kissed my neck where the perfume lingered. In the mirror, we looked like strangers playing at being married. The wine bar was intimate, low-lit, filled with couples leaning across small tables. David ordered for both of us, a bottle of something French I'd never heard of, while I watched strangers navigate their own mysteries. Tell me what you're thinking, he said when our wine arrived. I'm thinking about control. I sipped the wine, tasting oak and dark fruit, about who has it, who wants it, who gives it away. David's fingers found the hotel key card I'd placed on the table between us. And that night, you controlled everything, the room, the man, even what I wore. I met his eyes. But in the moment itself, when he touched me, I felt like I controlled nothing and everything at once. How so? I could have stopped it, said no, but I chose not to. The wine loosened something in my chest. I chose to let you watch. I chose to let him touch me. Every moment was my choice, even though you'd arranged it all. David rotated the key card between his fingers. I've never wanted you more than I did watching you choose. Is that what this is about? Wanting me? Partly, he leaned forward, but also about seeing you want, really want, without apology or explanation. A couple at the next table laughed, the woman's hand covering the man's. Normal people, living normal lives, unaware of the conversation happening 3 feet away. What happens now? I asked. What do you want to happen? I thought about the perfume on my skin, about the stranger whose name I'd never learned, about David's eyes in that hotel room chair, about the woman I discovered in myself that night, hungry, unashamed, alive. I want to see where this goes, I said, but I need to know you'll still be there at the end. David pocketed the key card. I've been waiting 23 years for this conversation. I'm not going anywhere. 3 weeks later, David came home with another envelope. This time, the receipt was from a different hotel, a different city, Portland, just like he'd mentioned. The conference is real, he said, setting his briefcase by the door. But there's something else, a gathering like I mentioned. I studied the receipt, noting the dates, the room number. What kind of gathering? People like us, couples exploring boundaries. The word hung in our kitchen like smoke. I set down the dish I'd been drying, turned to face him fully. You want us to go. I want us to choose, together. David loosened his tie, a gesture I'd watched thousands of times. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility. I thought about the past month, the careful conversations, the new awareness between us, the way we'd begun touching each other like we were worth touching. The woman in the black dress lived in me now, alongside the teacher and wife and mother I'd always been. If we go, I said slowly, and if we participate, what happens to us afterward, to this? I gestured at our kitchen, our life, our careful suburban existence. We'll still be us, just more honest about who that is. The receipt felt ordinary in my hands, paper and ink, numbers and dates. But I knew it represented another doorway, another choice between safety and truth. I need time to think. Of course. David moved closer, his hand covering mine where it held the receipt. But Monica, whatever you decide, I love you. The woman you were before that hotel room. The woman you became that night, and whoever you choose to be next. I folded the receipt, placed it in the drawer with the hotel key card and the first receipt. 3 pieces of evidence that our marriage was becoming something I'd never imagined. How long do I have? The conference is in 10 days. 10 days to decide between the life I'd known and the life I was still discovering. I found David on the porch Saturday morning, reading the newspaper with coffee cooling in his favorite mug. The perfume bottle sat on the table beside him, not the exotic scent from the hotel, but my old fragrance, the light floral I'd worn for years. Making a point, I asked, settling into the chair beside him. Remembering, he folded the newspaper, gave me his full attention. This was your perfume when we met, when we got married, when our daughter was born. I picked up the bottle, twisted off the cap, breathed in the familiar sweetness. I'd forgotten how much I loved this. You don't have to choose between who you were and who you're becoming, David said quietly. They can coexist. I'd spent the past week thinking about Portland, about the conference, about what it would mean to step further into this new territory. But sitting here in our ordinary morning light, I realized the choice wasn't about Portland at all. I want to go, I said, to the conference to see what's possible. David's smile was soft, satisfied. And after we come home, to this. I gestured at our porch, our life, our accumulated years. But we bring the truth with us. The perfume bottle caught the morning sun, refracting light across the table. Old and new, familiar and strange, all existing in the same space. I love you, David said, reaching for my hand. I know. I squeezed his fingers, feeling the wedding ring we'd exchanged 23 years ago. And now you know I love you too, all of you, even the parts that surprise me. Later, I would pack for Portland. I would choose what to wear, what to bring, what version of myself to present. But for now, I sat with my husband in our familiar morning ritual, breathing in the scent of jasmine and possibility. We were still us, just finally, completely real.